Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. We're talking about Nightwing and Titans.
From the sleepy suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, there are assembled the world's two greatest podcast hosts, created from the cosmic legends of the universe. Sean Whalen.
Welcome to Raging Bullets, a DC Comics fan podcast. I'm a big fan of variant colors. My love for Batman is that stuff. Let's talk some comics.
And Jim Segulin.
How's it going, eh? You know me and Superman. I'm really loving what they're doing. Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast.
Their mission, to discuss DC Comics in books, movies, and television several times a month in 1 to 3 hour episodes. And to serve all mankind.
Outstanding.
Welcome to Raging Bullets. I'm Sean Whalen, drnorge, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim, the sensei of the whatnot, Segulin.
How's it going, eh?
Jim, on this episode, we are going to be talking about Nightwing 112 and Titans number 9. We also have a very special announcement about the future of the show that's at the end of the episode. We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We got a couple cool statues I want to point out because, again, DCBS isn't just about comic books. They've got some neat apparel. They've got some cool statues, action figures, etc. We've got the Joker Purple Craze by Care Andrews. It's a resin statue, 25% off, only $127. And we've got the DC CoverGirl Zatanna, based off of the J. Scott Campbell artwork, 25% off, only $104.99. So thank you, DCBS.
They also have toys and games, which are a biggie over there. It's nonstop shop, one-stop shopping for all of your pop culture needs. I shop for a lot of things that are swag related from DCBService.com and really enjoy that. Remember, if it's in the previews catalog, you're able to get it from DCBService.com. Over at InStockTrades.com, they have their deals of the week. That includes Batman Superman World's Finest Trade Paperback Volume 1, The Devil Neza. $17.99 regularly, 50% off, only $8.99. Birds of Prey Progeny. Birds of Prey Progeny is $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. And JL Ape, the Complete Collection Trade Paperback. This is from that annual series of events that they had at DC Comics. $29.99, regularly 50% off, only $14.99. I want to thank DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. Mr. Segulin, what kind of a podcast are we?
Raging Bullets is a spoiler podcast. We go in-depth into plotlines, story twists, and whatnot of the books we're discussing on today's show. So, if you haven't read the books, you may want to come back later so you can better enjoy the show.
Let's talk some comics.
Green Lantern, let you and I destroy that space junk.
Our first discussion this episode is going to be of Nightwing number 112. Tom Taylor is the writer, Sammy Basiri as the artist, Vicente Fuentes on inks, pages 5 through 22, Adriano Lucas on colors, Wes Abbott on letters, Bruno Redondo on cover, Dan Mora and Francisco Francavilla on the variant covers, Robbie Rodriguez on the 125 variant cover, Jessica Burby is the editor, Ben Abernathy the group editor, and Nightwing, of course, created by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. And apologies for any name butchery. This is a great book. It's strange, and I don't want to diminish the book by saying this, but this is a book that I constantly find as a comfort food book for me. Like, I really enjoy revisiting this world, revisiting this character. It is like exactly what I love about Tom Taylor as a writer. He's just able to do this. He gets these characters and puts in situations like this. But it is a book, I will say, I find myself, I'll talk about Batman, I'll talk about events that are happening in other books. Nightwing is one of those books, for some reason, whatever stupid reason there is, this is one of my favorite books, and yet I don't acknowledge it that way as much as I should, because it's such a great read.
Here's something funny. I actually like Nightwing over Batman, and I wasn't that guy. When we first, think back to when we first started the show.
Sure.
One of the first books that I started buying regularly was 1 year later Nightwing.
Sure.
And before that, I knew who Nightwing was. I knew about, the original Robin, blah, blah, blah. But it's been something over the 18 years. I've started really getting to like Dick Grayson, and this guy is awesome. And especially the last couple years, they've really let him grow, let him, be, he's not Batman, but he is, he's the son of the Bat, and it's a really cool thing just how they've the growth of the character, just who he is, that I actually like the character Nightwing over Batman, and I'm not knocking Batman, because they do some great stuff with Batman, but I find that Nightwing's a book that I always will jump to, and it's one of the reasons I like Teen Titans and Titans, and the Titans book now. Nightwing's role in this, just his role in the DC universe has just been perfect. We always said he's the big brother to everybody. He's the guy everybody trusts, and Superman trusts him to look after his kid. That's Nightwing. That's Dick Grayson. John was, when John was lost a little boy, it was Nightwing who found him. And when he was trapped all those years, by Ultraman, he was hoping Nightwing would show up and save the day. Knew it wouldn't have been possible, but he still had hope that Nightwing would find a way. I love just that, who this character is. And again, the relationship with him and Barbara, and just the relationship with him and the Titans. This has been absolute joy of reading that. I'm like, every time Nightwing comes out, I pick it up and I got to read it, and I've got to know what's going on with him.
It's funny, one of the things you're saying is really, if you think about it, the hallmark of what goes back to the creation of this character, right? He's supposed to be that person. And that's just really good understanding of the character. It's really good writing that this guy is just so likable. That's why he's used the term comfort food. And sometimes you say that and it sounds like you're diminishing something. I don't mean it that way. I like hanging out with Nightwing. And it's a different sort of experience where sometimes there's other stories in other books that there's an intensity to it. I want to be clear. I'm not saying there's no intensity in Nightwing stories. There's absolutely 1,000% that. It's just different. It's a unique experience. And I feel it's like what should be the experience with Nightwing.
Yes.
He's got problems and you see him face those problems and you see him go through them. But it's a very, very different experience. I agree with you on the evolution of the character right now. I really love his relationships. First of all, I love that he and Barbara have this relationship that's going. I like that he has a dog. I like that Titans is so closely integrated with this. I like that they've got their own storylines going on, but you can parallel them, as far as what's going on. It's the same city, and those things all make sense as far as what Dick Grayson's doing with that team. There's just a really good continuity to that without having to be bogged down on this. Sometimes continuity gets in the way of being able to be creative and grow characters and grow story. Whereas I don't feel that with this book at all. And I'm a big continuity fan, so it's just something there's the synergy between these two books. It's not strangleholding either of these books.
Oh, big time. And it's, and again, it's one of those things where you look at all the stuff that's happened with him and the Titans, first Teen Titans, then Titans, and, there was a period there where they were like, okay, what Titans happened, what didn't happen, and there was some questions on that, but throughout it all, we've worked through that. We know that the original Teen Titans were. We know because now they're the Titans, and, you see that just that growth of that family, unit, then just him. And again, how he deals with everybody. Like him and Bruce have these moments. Him and the other Robins. Even Jason, who's, doesn't get along with everybody, there's still a connection there. There's still a relationship there. And it's not the greatest in the world, but nothing relationship-wise with Jason is the greatest, but there is still a connection. Dick Grayson can get away with stuff. Dick Grayson can have a conversation with Jason Todd. Tim Drake's the same way with him and Jason. They kind of bonded a little bit better. Yeah. And you think back to when Damian was the little monster, who was it that first started, getting the growth out of Damian? It wasn't Bruce. It was, Dick Grayson as Batman. And I love seeing again, that period where he was wearing the cowl. was just a great time because it was Batman who posed for selfies and who smiled. And I love that scene when Gordon knew immediately that it was a different guy, but it's, but he is a completely different, but he still had the cowl. He still was Batman at the time, but he was Nightwing Batman. He had that different style to it. So, again, whenever you get these great writers who understand these characters and know how to play them and write them, you get some cool moments, and current creative team has just been firing on all cylinders for me.
One of the things that I think is interesting about the character now is he's gotten past the rebellious years where, it was, I have to get away from Bruce to be something different. Now he's embraced what he's learned from his father, because, Bruce, that's father figure for him, but made it his own. It's one of those things where it's very easy to say that he's completely different from Bruce. I don't think that's totally the story. He's got what he learned from his birth parents. He's got what he learned from Alfred. He's got what he's learned from Bruce. And what he's learned, even this sequence in the beginning of this issue, I think is a great example. We're talking about Dick Grayson took an oath. He grew up to be a leader, to help save the world, to build up an entire city. And you see him training with Bruce. And you can see how that training, learning how to work out that anger, and in growing and learning how to make ways of dealing with situations like that his own, lets him, it's not throwing what Bruce taught him out the window. It's not throwing what Bruce did for him as a parent out the window. It's how do I chart my own path in how to do that while taking everything that I did learn from that and make it into something more and evolving it. And that part is super, super cool.
Yeah. And it's funny, you mentioned this training sequence, and this again was one of those moments that I absolutely loved. Again, we've got a team that knows what they're doing with these characters. You think back to, there's a very angry young man because he lost his everything. He lost his world. Bruce understands that. And I loved when Bruce is sitting there and he needs to stop him. He takes off the cowl. And he has that great conversation with him about, hey, you're feeling angry. I get that. It's okay here, but you can't take it out there. We can't cross that line. And it's that great explanation of the code of the bat, where the code of the bat isn't just, we don't kill. There's a line on the level of violence you do to them. There's a level of that. And I love just how, Bruce is right here laying that out. And the best line, we can't hurt people because our parents died. And I love just that moment. Again, this is all, he's kneeling down. He's at Dick Grayson's level. He's got the cowl off, so you're seeing his face, and they're calling each other by their actual names. He's not calling him Batman. He's calling him Bruce. And I loved, it's, because of, you see that. And then, again, this right here is a great moment for Dick Grayson. He's like, no, I want to keep training because I want to help people. I don't want to hurt them.
But we have but that piece where you're sitting there, when he's talking about why us, I love this line from Bruce. Because of why you were hitting so hard. Because of the pain behind each blow. Because we know how much it hurts to lose what we lost. And if we can stop that happening to others, and he comes back with, then we have to. But those are moments where you got to look at that. And sometimes it's very easy to bash Bruce and go, Bruce was, such so challenging and hard on them and things like that. That's a soft moment of Bruce's, where Bruce is explaining, you're letting out your pain in an appropriate way here. And he was really teaching him how to deal with pain in the only way that Bruce knew how to. And I really like that there's messaging there where Bruce really was there's areas where we can be very critical of Bruce, and rightfully so. This was good, what he was doing here. We got to temper this. You got to control this. We have that pain. We can use that pain, but in the right ways. And I mean, as a parent there, he's doing some really, really good stuff. And I like that line from him. This is what our family does. Because it comes back multiple times in this story and this idea of family. And I really like that they're focusing more on this in the continuity, the idea of them being a family. Because Bruce he took on this kid when he didn't have a spouse. He already had basically two jobs, being Bruce Wayne full-time, which is its own little job, and being Batman. and trying to take on a child and make, teach that child and help grow that child. You can see why he screwed up in certain ways, but boy, he was so right in others. And I'm glad to see these shining moments because you want to show that Bruce had a positive impact on Dick Grayson too. It wasn't all bad. And, those rebellious years where Dick Grayson left was because Bruce just sometimes a parent does not know how to deal with when their child gets to that age and they've got to grow beyond them. And they've got to grow away from the fence that a parent will naturally put around their child because they've got to evolve and become something more. And I like that this is a Dick that's gotten around the other side of that. It's great. My favorite sequence, you flip the page and you got Gotham Now, and you see him and Barbara around the table. It couldn't be more normal of a situation, understanding the kind of world that both of them live in. And by the way, the artwork in this is so perfect for this series because to the comfort food point is, that's an apartment I want to hang out in. Right? They've got a cool apartment, a trendy apartment. In that city, this is a very cool and trendy place to be.
Yes. And, I tell you, just little subtle stuff, that the art team is capturing, had me going, that's cool. Like with Bite, with the dog there, Bite Wing. I loved how he's sitting there begging, she's sitting there begging, and then you see Dick, slip her some bacon, and calm down and all that. And just those little subtle moments of them sitting around the table. This could be any other family, any other family unit. And they're, of course, talking about Batman wanting his complete location so he can cyberstalk him, and figure out maybe what's going on with his, sudden fear of heights. And I love just how calm and natural and normal this is. But even Barbara has the great line. He wants to see, it's a mystery. He wants to solve it because he's the world's greatest detective and he's your dad. I always love those kind of moments. Sometimes they miss out on the Bruce fatherly relationship, or at least I've seen him miss that out sometimes because he's so distant. In this issue, we're getting multiple moments of seeing actually Bruce Wayne be a father. And I like that. I love that.
And these last two issues really have done a great job of Bruce being the balance of he's Batman and all that, but he's also not getting in the way of Nightwing being Nightwing, recognizing this is Nightwing's case. He's helping and supporting, which it's interesting to see Batman almost in the sidekick role, right?
Yeah.
It's an interesting sort, or at least in the full-blown partner role. But I think there's a certain element where he deliberately takes a back seat, respecting Dick Grayson. And that's not a Batman thing you see very often, where he's willing to take the back seat. But he's had to do that in Beast World, right? And post-Beast World, he's having to do that now. And making the choice to do that now, I should say, because that's a choice. And I don't know that Bruce in comics 10 years ago, matter of fact, I'll tell you this, Bruce in comics 10 years ago would not have done this. This is a Batman who's continuing to grow and evolve too. And I like that Tom Taylor is pulling in some of the natural evolution of Bruce that we are seeing in his own books into Nightwing in a way that kind of gives us a different lens into Batman in a way that I think is really great. This is where crossovers really work when you've got a strong writer. Because I feel like we're learning something about Bruce in this piece that's really great. It's important to note that this is the second issue involving this kid and his uncle. Yeah. And this kid's gone through a very similar trauma to what Bruce and Dick has. So if you didn't read the previous issue, there's this child who they encounter that basically has had a very similar circumstance to the tragedy that both of them faced. He's living with his uncle right now, and it looks like all in the up and up, like, hey, this is great. This kid's got an uncle, and the uncle, has kind of been dropped into this, but they're well off. There's money. Everything, all the boxes are checked, right? For these two to be able to go off together and have a great life. Dick's going to check on this kid because he's on this kid's pencil case and he's kind of grown an attachment to him. Not knowing what we know as the viewer, the uncle is not on the up and up. No, and the uncle was clearly out for the money, and the limits that the uncle has gone to in order to accomplish this is, he's downright dangerous and dastardly. And I would have making a strong argument that kid's in danger, right? Because
big time.
I don't think the uncle really cares much about having this kid in his life in any way, shape, or form, except for the fact that the kid's a wallet for him, for lack of a better term, right now.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. And again, this was talk about a great story, because when, last issue, they're like, there's a kid, there's a child. And it was like that building on when, Bruce first, took in Dick Grayson. Even Alfred's like, sir, are you sure there was a child? He witnessed his family dying, and like, okay, we got to take care of it. Now we've got that same kind of situation. This time it's Nightwing who sees it, and it was a really cool kind of comparisons and similarities. And then they did a brilliant job at the end of last issue is where they reveal that this uncle is nasty. Because he grabs the kid, we got to get out of here. You brought Nightwing into this. He'll never let us get away with this. And you're like, oh, he's evil. That's awesome. It was a great, brilliant story, because they made the first part of the issue about, there was this child who had this tragedy, and we're going to, take care of this child. And he's got this uncle, and everything looked like it's going to be a happy ending. And no, it's not. And I remember when I read it and I saw the uncle was evil, I was like, oh, Nightwing's going to go, so give him a beating. That's going to be awesome to see. I was really looking forward to this issue, just because I knew, what was going to happen to that guy, because how personal, he was taking it with Ico, and I was like, man, this is awesome. And again, continues on right here to the point where the kid was smart enough to write the word help and leave it in the Nightwing, pencil case. Because the kid probably knew Nightwing was going to come save me. Nightwing would protect me. And as soon as he's getting pulled away, he scribbled a little note just to make sure Nightwing would know, I need help. And there's nowhere on this planet this kid would go that Nightwing would not look to find him. I love this stuff.
Well, and the piece that I love, too, is, so Bruce is the world's greatest detective. I think Bruce would have still found that note, but not as quickly as Nightwing did, because the note was left for Nightwing. And I really like that the kid was smart. I like when you put a smart kid in there that's like recognizing, I'm leaving this note for my hero. The hero knows about my pencil case. The hero's on my pencil case. This is dialogue that we've had. It makes a lot of sense that he left the message. I like that Dick puts together the clues. What's interesting about this, it goes back to the pivotal chain of events that led to this being a crossover, was the fact that this heartless-like murder happened in Gotham. So Bruce asked Dick to come in on this one, saying, hey, this is your guy. I need your expertise on this one. Let's work together on this one so I can pick your brain. There's efficiency in that, right? You move faster. You've got the expert on hand who's worked with this villain before. And I like that they're quickly poking holes. They've been duped. And that's where the uncle did a good job, in the fact that they were like, there's no reason to kind of go down the rabbit hole of it being anyone other than Heartless. The uncle did a very, very good job of covering his tracks, except for how sloppy he got with the kid.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, big time. And again, I love these moments where, he brings Bruce into the mix. He brings him in, but of course, he goes to the Titans. He goes to his team, because their jet's already in the air, but he's got access to a faster jet. And I love that notion that he went to his Titan and said, hey, need some help here. I thought that was cool, because again, all the Titans could have gone in on, but they didn't need them. It was him, it was Bruce and Nightwing going to take care of this thing. And I love that. And then just as I'm like, man, this is an awesome issue, you get that great moment between Gar and Bruce, where he's asking him, how do you deal with people hating you? How do you deal with, trying to be a hero, saving people's lives and having people hate you for it? And again, a brilliant moment for Bruce here to really just show that he's not a jerk.
I also like that Teen Titans doesn't feel, Dick Grayson is the leader of the Titans team, right? I keep calling them Teen Titans, and excuse me for that. They're Titans. But the Titans team, I like that they feel like they're organic with this. You could have done this where they just were the background moment where they were borrowing the jet and then they were going on. Instead, they use this as an opportunity to continue moving this story forward with Beast Boy. I really liked that moment. That was a good use of the page, gave you a greater sense of this larger world that we have here. I think when writers do that, it makes us feel part of the connected literature. And you don't have to be reading Titans to appreciate that, but man, if you are, that's an extra bang for the buck right there, and that was really, really well done. It was a good scene.
Yeah, and Bruce's just take on the Titans Again, because the inner dialogue, that's all Bruce talking. He's talking about how this is a team that formed around him. The Justice League was effective, professional. This is something else. And I love the moment he goes, a few weeks ago, they saved millions of lives. Now he's dropping everything for a single child, which is exactly how it should be. I was like, yes, once again, these are some cool Batman moments.
One of the things that it's often easy to forget, Tom Taylor has written a lot of Batman at this stage over the years. But particularly with the fact that he's done the Injustice books and things, and he also did the miniseries that we just read recently, which we know was in a different universe. But he's throughout the years had many, many opportunities to write Batman. He writes a very, very good Batman. Yep. To be able to nail that inner dialogue like that is really, really good. And to make it feel so much like it's the same Bruce, again, like I said earlier, that we're reading in his other titles right now, because Bruce has some key books going on right now, not just the Batman title. We got Brave and the Bold going on. We've got Batman also over in The World's Finest. We've got him in Detective Comics. There's a lot of really good Batman going on at the moment. And he definitely is writing a Batman that feels very much like the Batman we're seeing in all those other books.
Yeah, big time. And there's some really cool, again, some of these artistic moments. We talked about earlier how this is just an absolute. This is a brilliantly written story. Yeah. But we've got some really cool art moments that go along with that. Just the calmness that the two of them have, and the comfort the two of them have in the T-Jet as they're talking and as they're planning, as they're breaking down what happened. They're figuring out that the parents weren't an accident. The mom died in a car crash a few years ago. Well, they're like, that's not real. That was him doing it. Now the father, used the heartless murders to blame, to try to pull the thing off to kill the dad, and just all these different stuff. And they're just playing it out. And again, really neat looking sequences. And then you get to the airport bits.
Wait, before you go to the airport, just to echo one other piece, it's not just Bruce and Dick. It's the comfort level when Batgirl comes in as well. Yeah. Oracle.
Yeah.
Again, these are three people, when you look at their history together, him writing this way, and I'm just building off what you're saying because I'm just nodding as you're saying it, but Oracle pops into that conversation, and it's the gang is back together. These are people that for years were associated with each other as crime fighters, and they're slipping back into that mode. And it's almost like not only just slipping back into it, it's you have now years of respect of what everybody in that jet has done, right? And they just immediately are deferring to each other and pulling in the information from all three of them as they're analyzing this. It is a really, really cool team up. I would love to see a miniseries involving these three working together on something. Yeah. Just because these moments, we get them. They're so special because we don't get them very often, where we get to see the three of them working this collaboratively on something. And it's a different sort of experience when it's well written like this.
Oh, big time. It reminds me back to, and I can't remember which issue, where it was, but after Barbara was in the chair. Yeah. Bruce took the cave and made it 100% wheelchair accessible without anybody asking him to do it. He just did it because he knew Barbara would be down there. So he made it accessible for her. I can't remember where it was discussed, but Barbara was commenting about how Bruce did that for her. And I was like, that's again that same kind of family connection, was just a great thing, and you see it here. And then, as I said, that opening sequence in the airport, the guy's got a bunch of guards. We got 10 more armed. We're ready to go. And they turn the corner, stepping out of the shadow. Nightwing and Batman. It's on now. I literally cheered at this one. And especially because, again, you go back to the inner dialogue, all the stuff that Bruce is talking about, how, where Nightwing is usually the one who throws out the little quips. This one he's not. He's being very straightforward because he's focused. He's got to protect that kid. This has all been about protecting that child. It's all been about the code. It's all been about what he pledged all those years ago. We're seeing it 100% here. And I absolutely love this fight sequence, again, showing the two of them having The art team really, really captured the fluidity and the motion of each of them, especially Nightwing. It's hard to capture that. He's got the acrobatic fighting style, and they're showing that, but it's still very straightforward, very serious. No comedy, no nothing. This is a very hard edge Nightwing who's taking down the guys just as much as he needs to. He's not going overboard. He's not cutting them slack, but he's making sure the problem is neutralized fast and efficiently. I love this sequence. I love how they drew this out.
And the dialogue that matches it is perfect. This is an example of poetry. I mean, kind of going along, because everything you're saying, I couldn't agree with you more, but he's saying, Bruce is like this: we fall into a pattern without thinking. Years of training and fighting together. He knows I'll block anything coming at him. I know his blows will be where mine aren't. And he's gotten better. And like you said, the efficiency comes in there. He's like more efficient. But Bruce's dialogue in this, it's very rare on a book where you've got, where Nightwing is the key player, that we're actually learning more about our character through somebody who is a dominant character in many other titles. I really loved the choice here, because you could have kept all this being Nightwing's dialogue, right? The choice of having Batman do it serves so many purposes. It's seeing Nightwing through Batman's eyes is fantastic, but we learned so much about Batman in that process as well, that it was just such a great writing choice. And that had to be exciting to write that, to think that, hey, wait a minute, let me write this as Batman. Let's look at this as Batman. Yeah. What a great choice.
Oh, God, yeah. And in the ending sequence where, the uncle gets the gun and he takes the shot, a single shot. And I love how, Nightwing, again, he takes the blow, and Bruce immediately knows why he did it. He took the shot on purpose to draw fire away from the kid. And I love the comparison, because how Bruce's armor, his arms have better armor to take the bullets. Nightwing's more based on mobility. He probably broke his arm with this. He should have been knocked down. My son isn't knocked down. I love that. I love just, again, that, Bruce looking at it and going, and seriously, this is a great, because Bruce is right. He probably has a broken arm there. He's got the uncle pinned down, and very calmly he's like, Ico, walk to Batman. It's okay. You're safe now. He'll protect you. He always protected me. I love this little sequence here where we really get some cool moments of, again, this teaming of these two, this understanding, and you get another cool picture of Bruce just kind of covering over Ico, and again, protecting him, guarding him. I love this.
The backup feature of the book, The Son of Gray, is written by Michael W. Conrad, Francesco Francavilla on art and colors, Wes Abbott on letters, and Jessica Burby, again, editor. I want to shout that out because terrific choices, again, of having a different art team with a very different style. This is 14th century Normandy. Yeah. And they did a great job of, you just got this terrific main story that's going on. And this background story, like last issue when I was reading this, I was like, wow, I really appreciate that there's a co-feature in Nightwing right now that's telling this story about the history of the Graysons. And you see that there's a family legacy of being this kind of thing, the Son of Gray, and the fact that, his ancestor is snapped and, is very Joker-like, to the point where he's trying to kill the Son of Gray and gets overzealous in that process, to the point where, he's even imagining the fact that I'm taking his life away. And I know these are moments lost to the fog where, remembering him as a child and the loves that he could have been, like where this child could have, his son could have grown up to then have a great love, and not having those memories. But I love that they're teasing so much that this kid is dead, and in fact he's not. Yeah. It was, at least I think he was not. I mean, because now he becomes almost like, what did happen to the son? We don't know that from the story around the fire. Is he still out? I'm assuming he's out there somewhere. I actually really liked the mystery of the ending, as far as whether or not the kid survived. But I like that the dad is, it's his father, right?
Yeah.
Is haunted by what has happened and feels like that closure will never happen until he knows until they have their final confrontation, right? Until I will be the one to speak his name one final time, and only then will the Grayson be gone forever. And I just thought that was really, really just such a great co-feature, a great story. I liked the fact that it took place in the long past. I don't remember a lot of stories, except where we were getting the Court of Owls stuff, that had focused heavily on ancestors of Dick Grayson. And I like that there's something else that's giving kind of a bit of a history of this family and their legacy, because it's something that's where this character is so important to DC Mythos. Flesh that out a little bit. Great job.
Oh, big time. I'll tell you, I absolutely love this. And again, I love the art choice to change things up, make sure it's not, so it's a dramatic, different look to it.
Yeah.
Which again, I kind of like that, and they had more of the artsy style to it. So I was like, yes, this is kind of cool looking. And like you, I was like, he's still alive and he's going to come back. He's a Grayson. And it's the mythos of the family. So more of this, please.
Yeah, I agree. You want to talk some Titans?
Always.
Nice work, Atom. What are these characters up to?
Our next discussion is on Titans number 9. The writer is Tom Taylor. Art by Lucas Meyer. Colors by Adriano Lucas. Letters by Wes Abbott. Chris Samney and Matthias Lopez on the cover. Joshua Swaby and W. Scott Forbes. Yannick Biquette and Nathan Fairbairn on the variant covers. Chris Rosa is the associate editor. Brittany Holzer is editor. And group editor Paul Kaminsky.
This book is so good.
No.
What was great is you've got the same writer on both. But spinning out of Beast World, we're clearly leading towards the next big DC event, right? And this is building towards it. This is building towards summer, and we know we got something big coming. I love that the wall's in this piece. I love that this deals with a lot of different areas. It deals with the Beast Boy stuff that's going on, deals heavily with the Raven stuff that's going on, and Trigon. Which I love Trigon. Trigon's a great character. And Trigon's screwed up family, which wasn't always a thing in Trigon stories. Now we've got this piece. Tom Taylor does not leave any stone unturned. He's organically bringing a lot of elements into all this in ways that make sense. But for me, the Raven story of this, I'm really, really digging. Because it's kind of one of those things where you're like, is she all in with, is she all in with Amanda Waller? Is she all in with Trigon? Or is there a third possibility of she's got her own agenda? And I really think that's what's going on here, that I think this Dark Raven has her own agenda. I don't think she's all in on what Trigon's doing or Waller. I think those things all play heavily into what she ultimately wants. But she's got her own goals. And that often happens with the greed of villains, right? It's the fact that they've got their own goals, their own agendas. And that's where their co-conspirators, their relationships start to splinter and ultimately start to fall apart. And I think we're going to see that. But I like that it's subtle. It's something that you're seeing in little bits and pieces, but it also matches this prophecy with her of her being this dark being, this dark queen that is going to, be the ruler and key to the destruction of everything. I really like that we're seeing this ultimate thing that's always, for years, Raven's held off this side of herself that has been so linked to her father. This goes back to the original history of the New Teen Titans, right from the creation of this character. Tom Taylor's going somewhere that, yes, has been addressed, never on this level. To this level of depth. And I'm not saying that other creators haven't played around with this. They sure have. But, man, this is very, very different in the way that it's being handled. And it's again, something where, like, wow, just when you think you couldn't get another variation on this story, he's found a way to take this Raven story and give us something very, very fresh feeling from it. And I really, really like that.
Oh, God, yes. Oh, yeah. And it's funny, as you were talking about just the double cross and the betrayal of evil, I'm nodding my head and grinning from ear to ear, because that was the big thing I'm thinking of with, she's the Darkwing Queen. And when you're a queen, you don't always like to share your throne.
Right.
And she's not sharing the throne with her dad. She's definitely not sharing the throne with any of her siblings because she looks down at them idiots. She wants to be in control. She wants to be the top dog there. And that's going to be probably the main downfall of evil, is that they're going to start backstabbing. They're going to start doing it, And again, you throw the wall into the mix as well. Who knows where anything's going to go with that? So I love how they're playing this. And I loved how last issue when she had the confrontation with Trigon, and he's like, hey, why are you still hanging out with them? Why are you still with your friends? Are you being influenced? Like, no. They're going to be my generals. I'm going to corrupt all of them. And I love just how she's playing it because she 100% thinks she's going to corrupt them. She 100% thinks she's going to use the Titans to gain power. She's already, we see it really heavy in this issue where she starts working Gar over. And Gar is going to be the easiest one to get in the mix because he's so in love with Raven. And he's right now dealing with a lot of garbage because of everything that happened with Beast World that really, it was all the Wall doing. But he got set up for it. He's the scapegoat for it. Everybody looks and sees him as being the person who caused this, not the person who saved everybody. Because actually, he is the one who saved everybody. If it wasn't for Gar, the plan wouldn't have worked at all. So I love how, again, this is, affecting him. And she's right there to take advantage of it. She's right there to manipulate it. The strategy of Evil Raven is awesome. I absolutely love it.
The quintessence piece is great because I like sometimes we know we have these all-powerful beings that are part of the DC universe, and sometimes you get asked the question as far as, well, why aren't they doing something? With what's brewing with Raven, why aren't they doing that? I like that they explained it. They're talking about what's going on with Trigon. They're talking about the Darkwing Queen and all that type of piece, but they explained, like, listen, we cannot risk a direct confrontation with Hell. Because then it's them versus Hell. And you've got now, the devastation that you can imagine that's going to come from that. I like that they've got to keep the peace. There's some politics to what they're doing. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. From a storytelling standpoint, why, when you've got this growing being, they're aware of it. They see what's happening there. And I like that they've got to come up with a way to deliver the message. They're trying to do it in secret. I also love that it doesn't go as planned. That's something that it's always cool when you see that it's going on. I wasn't at the time thinking of who Hera would have used, but it makes a ton of sense. Like when you get there, you go, of course, that Hermes is the one we're going to go with and that type of thing. But I liked that we get to see the power of this Dark Queen, this dark version of Raven, in the sense that Hermes comes to, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but I just couldn't help it with the sequence not go there. Hermes shows up on the scene to give the warning, and I like that she gets rid of Hermes and uses the fact that what Hermes was going to warn about as a way to cover for herself, saying, hey, look, they're trying to shatter our trust in each other. They're sending us somebody who's clearly an imposter. I like that she used what he was going to warn them against him. Yeah. I thought that was so very cool. This was really, really a well-done sequence. And it added something to the book in particular.
Oh, God, yeah. And again, just some of the notes and the notations that Dark Raven's doing. With how she's inside everybody's mind and she's tweaking them and she's using little stuff. She commented earlier how Nightwing has been the most suspicious of. But as soon as the notions pop in his head, she just pushes it aside. As these notions pop in there, she's just moving it aside and she's dancing around. So again, it's kind of funny seeing how again she's got to play this game where she's got to manipulate and jump into their minds and do all that stuff. Again, it's really showing just the power levels that if Raven, if Rachel wanted to do this stuff, she could do all of this stuff. But again, it's her humanity. It's the fact that she's not going to jump in somebody's mind because it's wrong. Well, Dark Raven doesn't have a problem with that. Evil One's like, no, I'm going to use all this stuff. And I love just these moments where you get this great hero moments of the Titans saving people, and even Raven's there saving people because she's got to put on the image. But as soon as she's got a chance to do a little digs into the team, she takes it. Like, hey, anybody seen Gar? Flash told him to leave, so he left. I wasn't talking like that. and she's just throwing those little digs into it. And then even, like, hey, someone needs to go talk to Gar. Hey, Rachel, will you do that? Oh, sure, no problem. Because, again, furthering her plans. I love this stuff. Again, she's playing a nice long game, where, this is a great, great villain. She's playing this off, and I'm like, this is awesome.
By the way, the Bureau of Sovereignty is a great name. I'll admit that. But the initials, BOS, not so great. And that guy's walking around with that, like, vest on. I'm, like, sitting there, like, I don't know, man. I'd be like, boss, couldn't we come up with something better than this?
Yeah.
But I really, again, another really strong use of Peacemaker. Just a couple pages, bringing him in the appropriate role. But, yes, there was sort of a comedic moment there, which I really, really enjoyed. I like that he goes in, we're on the side of good. He's leading him around. We're just going to go right now. Because he opens up the room and sees Trigon having a meeting with Amanda Waller. Like, Amanda Waller is calling people into her office, like calling Trigon into her office. They're having a meeting together. That showdown between Waller and Trigon was incredibly well written. Because Trigon's, like, basically posturing in every way that he should. Amanda, whether she was bluffing or not, really was playing chess there in a very, very brilliant way, because she's standing toe-to-toe with Trigon, basically saying, hey, it's better for us if you're offering me a little carrot here at the moment, because of the fact that I got what you want, you got what I want, let's work together on this piece. I've faced some of the most powerful creatures in the universe. I'm still here. It's the truth. And to the point that she was able to stand there and get respect of a sort from Trigon was really a powerful moment. Because Trigon doesn't, like, shirk or cower or back down. It more is he contemplates. And I think in that moment he's like, this strategically is the best move, to just go this way with it. Because the battle between them doesn't benefit either of them. It makes sense. Sometimes good writing just makes sense. Why did he fall back from the posturing? Because it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And that part was really, really good. It showed some strong writing with Trigon. Nobody lost anything there. Waller looked fantastic, but so did Trigon. Trigon made sense in that moment where it's like, listen, my prize is what I'm looking for right now, and that's it.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. And I tell you, I love these moments. This whole sequence was starting off with Peacemaker telling the new guy, hey, the boss isn't that bad. You're going to love it here. And they all walk in there, and there's a demon with a contract sitting right there. Okay, well, we'll come back later. And even Waller's like, well, that's going to take some explaining and a memory wipe. And I love just how throughout this, she's keeping her composure. She's just calmly talking. She's got nothing to fear from Trigon, even though he's a demon, and it further, shows why her bluff, or whether she actually had something underneath the desk that could take Trigon. And I love how, again, the art team handled this, where she's very calm, very cool, very nothing, everything's fine, and then she gets that final moment that I'm still here. That's when she stands up from the desk and she's taking a positive posturing position, and you're like, yeah, this right here is awesome. Because before that, the whole time she's sitting there, and Trigon's looming over, and she's just calm. And then she stands up, and it's her, basically sticking out her chest saying, I've got the power here. And I love these sequences because, again, the Wall is such a great villain. She is so awesome because she's not a villain who wants to conquer the world. She thinks she's saving it. And I love that about her. And I love how, again, brilliant writing for her. Great way she stands up, to Trigon. And I do like the fact that we get a tease as to what she's getting, but not the whole story. It's not time for us to know it yet. Because he offers her the presidency, and she's like, I want power, not the appearance of power. And I'm like, oh, what do we got going on here? And then you flip through, and it goes back to the Titan. And I love how they're balancing this off, going between the one evil, then into the hidden evil with Rachel and dealing with the Titans and all the stuff that's going on with Beast Boy. Because again, I feel really bad for him because everyone on this team, he is one of the more emotional people. He wears his heart on his sleeve, and this is really affecting him. The fact that everyone sees him as a monster, sees him as a beast, sees him as this evil animal. Last issue, they were at that the hurricane, he's in the house saving these people's lives, and the dad is hitting him with a baseball bat, telling him to get out of there. Yeah. The dad would rather he and his son die than be saved by this monster. I was like, oh, that has got to be killing Beast Boy. And you see that it is, to the point where, it's setting him up, for Dark Raven to really do a number on him.
Which was really cool. And one of the things I really liked about that sequence, too, was you could have had Garf in this human form of his cowering on the bed, curled up in a ball. And he's doing that, but as a snake. And I like that, there's comfort in the fact that I can switch into a snake and really curl up the way that creature does and almost turn myself into a rock, protecting myself from the outside world that really is hammering at me at this point. I really liked the visual styling of that and how there's emotional component to that. You knew right away what he was doing. It's something we all wish we could do, and Gar takes advantage of that particular piece, and it was cool. It was just a very, very cool sequence of events.
Yeah, and of course taking away Gar's feelings, his guilt, shame, self-loathing makes him a perfect agent for Raven. So again, it was awesome. Great usage, and then we get that great sequence where Raven's talking to Rachel, and that's where she's like, "Hey," she's throwing it out there. "I'm destroying your friends. I'm in their minds. I'm manipulating it. If they start doubting me, I just tweak them." And I loved, again, this was a great sequence showing what this level of evil the dark version has.
The MVP of this issue was Wally West.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you why. It is I, Hermes, but I'm moving too fast for mortal eyes to comprehend. It is important I am not seen. Hey, it's Hermes! It was such a cool sequence of events. Yeah. He just walks in matter-of-factly and says that. It was great writing. I really, really enjoyed how that sequence played out. It's so interesting. I want to know more about Dark Raven. I want to know... I don't think it's as cut. I get that she's evil, and I see that piece. I guess there's another possibility I see with her. What happens if she winds up having a fondness for the Titans? What is that going to look like? Because I don't think she's fully operating under what Trigon wants. I just feel that, and I'm just curious to see where this story goes with her. She clearly has extreme issues with Rachel because of the fact that she's been held prisoner for so long, right? That side of her. But does she truly feel that way with the Titans? I don't know. It's what she does with Gar is duplicitous, yes, and I totally end on that. What she's doing with the rest of the Titans is duplicitous. But it's interesting that she's using them, trying to get them to be her soldiers. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where this story goes. I'm not saying that I feel like she's going to turn good. I want to be very, very clear on that. I just feel like there's going to be some interesting, intriguing choices made by this character that is clearly going to be a villain in this story. Don't get me wrong. But I think it's going to be a unique villain. Those are always fun, where I feel like she's going to be something different in her presentation in this. And that to me is an exciting writing when you're trying to figure out, what is her deal? What is she really after? How much is she really interested in doing what Trigon wants her to do? Or Waller, any of them? And how much is she really doing her own thing? I really, really enjoy stories like that where I feel that there's there's 3 fronts that are going on in this war. Even though they're all kind of working together, I feel it is a kind of working together.
Oh, big time. I 100% think we're going to see her turn on Trigon. We're going to see her turn on Waller. Waller's going to turn on both Trigon and her. They're each going to do their own thing. And I think one of the players that's going to be the silent hero of the story is Trigon's sons. Because we saw the one son in there is kind of like a goofiness, where he's not obviously not the apple of daddy's eye. Trigon is ashamed of him, and I see that son being the one who either helps take down Dark Raven, helps expose her, maybe helps out Rachel get free. I see stuff like that playing out. Now, I agree with you. Dark Raven is going to be a really cool villain. She's going to have her own groove to her. I 100% do not see her turning good. Part of me thinks she's going to take over Trigon. So Hell, where Trigon is, that's going to be Dark Raven. She's going to take over that, but they're going to block her from coming into the world. Like how they stopped Trigon all those years ago, they have to stop her. And what does that mean for Rachel? And that's what I'm really curious about. What's going to happen? If she's not, because I don't think she's going back in the Gemstone. I think she's going to be out there as a future villain for them. But again, what happens if they're both out there? Does Rachel have powers? Will we be losing Raven because we have Dark Raven out there, or the Raven Queen, the Darkwing Queen, or whatever we're going to call her? Where does this take her? And again, where does this take Gar? Where does this take the Titans? And again, how do you add into Waller? What's Waller's part in all this? I'm so thrilled and excited for this. Looking forward to this, man. This is going to be kind of a neat story coming out because we got some great villains, we got some great heroes. So yes, please.
Yeah, I agree. That this is going to be a very, very fun arc to follow.
We are Crystal Men from Mercury. We have no quarrel with you.
All right, everybody. One of the things Jim and I wanted to talk to you guys about is our big announcement. We were teasing that last episode, and this is something that really we've been kind of working on behind the scenes for years. When I say that, some of it was kind of organically saying, wouldn't it be nice if we could do this? Wouldn't it be nice if we could do that? But we never came up with really what that evolution would look like. We've been doing this show for over 18 years. Love everything that we're doing. We still are huge DC fans, and that hasn't changed at all. It hasn't dwindled. But what it is we want to rebrand the podcast in a way where we can talk about more. We've kind of done that over the years in the sense that we've done independent books, we've done some Kickstarters, we've done Marvel movies and those type of things, but there are some big storylines from Marvel that we would love to do on the show. There's big storylines from DC that we haven't done that we want to do on the show. A lot of what we want to do initially is kind of go back to doing story arcs, but not be limited to just DC story arcs. So we're looking to rebrand the podcast. We're actually looking to rebrand it as Raging Bullets, a comics fan podcast, and really focus on comic stories. Not give up anything that makes Raging Bullets what it is, but be able to do some Marvel stories on there, be able to do eventually some independent stories on there, and continue delivering DC stories. Initially, we're going to be focusing on some arcs, because there's a lot of arcs that we want to cover at Marvel. There's a lot of arcs that we want to cover at DC. We're going to try to find the balance to make sure we're not giving up our DC identity, but we're trying to add in a Marvel identity. As for years, Jim and I have been fans of Marvel comics. We're not anti-Marvel by any stretch. It's just the opposite. Foundationally, actually, part of my childhood has been growing up. It was Batman and Spider-Man. Those were my two characters, and they were equal. It wasn't like, one was more than the other for me. Your actual comic book reading history was much more Marvel before doing this podcast. So it's a chance for you to kind of revisit some of those pieces. So what we're doing is that we can actually announce what we're doing for the next two-ish episodes. We're going to be doing Kraven's Last Hunt, Spider-Man's Kraven's Last Hunt. And we're going to be doing, which is surprising that we haven't done this yet on the show, Batman Death in the Family. Those are going to be two episodes that are coming up. Our next episode, though, will be Spider-Man Kraven's Last Hunt. It's going to be us kicking off this new era, which we hope you'll enjoy. We hope you'll stick around with us on this one. We know some of you listening to this are exclusively DC fans, and hopefully we'll be able to introduce you to some stories that are Marvel-like that you haven't had a chance to read or enjoy, that are ones that are important, pivotal ones. It'll be a chance for us to revisit some classic stories. We're also going to be doing current stuff. I mean, we're not kind of giving up staying up to date with events that are going on and things like that. It'll just be fun to kind of talk about events that are going on in Marvel, talk about events that are going on in DC. We are going to fit independents into there as well. And we're kind of going to do that organically. It's going to initially be a lot of focus on Marvel and DC at first, just trying to find that balance. And then we'll continue evolving and add some independent stuff into there as well, just because we want the show to be something where we're really taking the opportunity to enjoy a lot of different story arcs from a lot of different companies. for those of you that are DC fans, we hope you stick around with us because we aren't giving up on DC at all. We don't want to. I'm actually, Death in the Family is one I'm insanely excited to do. And when we do that, we're actually going to do not only the Death in the Family story arc, we're going to do the Robin Lives issue, the one that was the alternate possibility of what was going to happen. So it'd be fun talking about that whole storyline and that piece. There's so much more for us to cover from the DC standpoint. We're going to continue covering DC, both new and old, on the podcast. But bring back story arcs into the podcast, because that was something that our older episodes where we did a lot of story arcs, people tend to go back and download quite a bit. I'm excited for that. One of the things we both agreed very quickly was we talked about potentially flipping the script and what if we went and became a Marvel podcast. And both of us agreed we didn't want to do that because we didn't want to give up the ability to talk about DC because we love DC. And this gives us the opportunity to have the best of both worlds on the show. And hopefully you're excited for this news. We're looking at basically... We've done this for 18 years, and as you said, I think in our anniversary episode, looking forward to the next 18 of continuing to do that. So we got a lot to cover from all companies, really across the board.
I'm looking forward to talking about some mutants, or maybe no more mutants. I don't know. Yeah, that's a story. Well, just so everybody knows, that's a story I've been dying to talk about on the show.
Interesting. Okay.
Also, there's a couple other people out there. Beta Ray Bill, you mentioned him, and I'm like, I've never read a Beta Ray Bill comic. I think that'd be kind of fun to read some, figure out, what of those stories we could talk about. And Captain America is one of those characters that a long time ago, back when I was high school and college, I was reading Captain America. So that's another character I'd love to go back to, and because he's had some significant events in his career since I've last read him that I would love to read again. So there's some neat stuff that we're coming down the pipeline, but also, again, it's still us. We're still going to be having fun with this. So we're going to talk about stuff we like. We're going to do it our style. So there still will be some strategery to what we're doing.
And there's a lot of 70s and 80s DC that we haven't done yet. So many Silver Age ones. There's 90s DC that we haven't covered on the show. There's a lot of stuff for us still to cover from the DC end on the classic side, not to mention keeping up with events that are coming on. What it may mean, though, is with certain events that come our way from DC, we may wait till the event's complete and do a kind of a recap of the event, do a big kind of, instead of just covering a singleton issue of it, covering the whole event. If it's a 6-issue event, covering the 6 issues of that event, doing it as a story arc instead of doing it as single issues. That doesn't mean that we aren't going to do single issue episodes. We may do single issue episodes where we do a DC Focus show. We may do a single issue episode where we do multiple companies. That gives us a lot of options as far as what we're going to do moving forward. Trust us on this journey and know that we're going to be kind of feeling this out as we go along and looking forward to going on this ride with you. So hopefully you'll stick with us and enjoy this journey.
Come on, Skreel. Let's pay these Plutonian beam makers a visit.
I would like to remind everyone about our show voicemail line. It's 1-440-388-4434 or Dr. Norge on Skype. We love having you part of our show. RagingBullets.com is our show website. That's where you'll find news on upcoming episodes. It feeds into Twitter. It also feeds into our Facebook fan page. We are proud to be part of an amazing Facebook group community. I want to thank all of them for continued support of our show. Please be sure to check them out and join for some great conversation about comics and pop culture over there. The About Us section of our show website is where you can find out news about our how to connect with us on social media, gaming platforms, however you want to connect with us. We want to connect with you. You can hear me regularly on Is It Jaws? That's a bi-weekly show where we focus on movie reviews, where I'm over there with Paul and we get a chance to review some amazing movies. So if you are a film fan, please check out Is It Jaws? We are sponsored, as always, by DCB Service and InStockTrades.com. Mr. Segulin, what is going on over at DCBService.com?
We have a really cool Joker Purple Craze resin statue, 25% off $127.49, and the DC CoverGirl Zatanna statue, 25% off only $104.99. Thank you, DCBS.
Over at InStockTrades.com, I want to remind everyone about the deals of the week. Batman, Superman, World's Finest trade paperback, The Devil Neza. $17.99 regularly, 50% off, only $8.99. Birds of Prey, Progeny, trade paperback, it's $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. And the JL8 Collection trade paperback, $29.99 regularly, 50% off, only $14.99. Thank you, DCB Service and InStockTrades.com for continuing to support our show. We will be back next week as we kick off Season 2 of Raging Bullets with Spider-Man: Kraven's Last Hunt.
Bye.
All right, you guys. Are you ready to sing your song?
I'd say we are. Yeah, let's sing it now.
Okay, this should be fun. Now get ready for your cue. Okay, Sean?
Okay.
Okay, Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Raging Bullets time is here. We talk about what we hold dear. Comic books and TV shows. Superheroes and their clothes. Justice League and so much more. I just love Green Lantern Corps. We talk about the books we've read with spoilers straight ahead.
Okay, fellas, get ready. That was very good, Sean.
Naturally.
Jim, you're a little flat there, so be careful. Jim? Jim? Jim!
Okay. Justice League and so much more. I still love Green Lantern Corps. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show. DC Comics are what we know. The Raging Bullet Show.
Excellent job, guys.
Let's sing it again. Yeah, let's sing it again.
No, that's enough. Let's not push it.
Push it. What is that? Yeah, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't mean anything by that.
I think
Sean,
we did it right
Jim,
there. I don't know.
how long do you want the song to go?
Look, it's on